Yesterday we just said that the Satipathana, 4 foundations of mindfulness, which the yogis are practicing in this Buddha Sasana, occupies a very crucial position in the world, in the life. Because without the practice of Satipathana, there will be no practice of the noble path of constituents. In a sense, without the practice of Satipathana, one will not take upon oneself the 3 trainings, namely Sila Samadhi Panya. If, on the other hand, if one practices the 4 foundations of mindfulness, then one is said to be taking upon oneself the practice of the noble path of constituents, in which the 3 trainings are involved, namely Sila Samadhi Panya. So this one will not be able to believe it without any evidential proof. So today we shall discuss about the evidence of such. So the Buddha has given these 2 statements in brief. The disadvantages of failure in the practice of Satipathana and the advantages of benefit of the practice of Satipathana. The statement means that whoever it may be, that means all individuals without remainder in the realm of human beings, all beings, whether seen or unseen, whoever it may be, whoever he, she may be, and without any limitations. Whoever fails or is deviated from the practice of the noble path of constituent, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, one has missed that, one is deviated from that, one has failed to practice the 4 foundations of mindfulness, then one will also be failing to undertake the practice of the noble path, rightly leading to the cessation of suffering. One is deviated from that path, one is said to have missed that path as well. If one misses or fails in the practice of the Satipathana, then one will not be able to undertake the practice of the noble path of constituents, which is the practice rightly leading to the cessation of suffering caused by these kilesas, or the cessation of kilesas, such as craving, aversion, and delusion, which will not lead to the realization of the real bliss, the highest bliss. So, on the other hand, if one is able to practice the foundations of mindfulness, then one will be practicing the noble path of constituents. Only when one is fulfilled with the practice of the noble path of constituents will one be able to realize this path leading to the cessation, rightly leading to the cessation or extinction of defilements, which are the causes of suffering. So, if one misses this path, the noble path of constituents, or if one loses, or one is deviated from this practice of the noble path, then one also is said to be deviated from Nibbana, realizing Nibbana, or one loses Nibbana. So whoever it may be, he, she may be, if one undertakes this practice of Satipathana with the 3 kinds of energy, namely initial launching energy, and energy to liberate, and liberating energy to overcome sluggishness, sloth and torpor, slackness, and then the final energy, stages, which practicing energy in stages, stepped up energy in stages, and fruit to be fulfilled. Then one is said to be practicing the noble path. One is said to be fulfilled with the practice of the noble path of constituents. So, with the practice of insight meditation, Lokiya Magga, the mundane path, one will be overcoming or cutting off the negative tendencies of mind on a part-time basis, momentarily, until at last one will be one realizes the noble path, one will be able to overcome these relevant respective defilements on a 4-time basis, realizing Nibbana. So one can see how important, crucial is the practice of the 4 foundations of mindfulness in the Buddha Sasana. When one is practicing mindfulness, watching the abdomen, doing rising and falling, every time it rises and falls, every time there is these sensations of stiffness, tension, and movement, and the abdomen rises, and every time there is a relaxation and movement, every time the abdomen falls, there happens what is known as kaya meaning aggregate or just collection, a collection of materialities, namely the stiffness, tension and movement, which are the manifestation of the wind element, Vaya Dhatu, as the abdomen rises. Such is known as Kaya aggregate, material aggregate. This is material aggregate is most obvious in the practice. And among the material aggregates, groups of materiality, Vaya Dhatu, the wind element, is most obvious. There are of course other clear objects as well, but at this time we consider Vaya Dhatu, the manifestation of the wind element, as most obvious, most prominent, such as the stiffness, tension and movement, all these sensations. The group of such sensations are known as Kaya, the material aggregate. And you contemplate it, you note it, Anupasana. And when you combine these two things, Kaya and Anupasana, Kaya becomes Kaya Anupasana, contemplation of materiality. So what is, as they are obviously arising, such as stiffness, tension and movement, all these sensations, which are known as Vaya Kaya, materiality of manifestation of wind element, then you connect your noting mind with these objects. That means stiffness, tension and movement. Patthana. When you combine the sati and patthana, becomes Satipathana. Try to connect with the object so that the noting mind is established firmly on the object of attention. In this case, the stiffness, tension and movement when abdomen rises. So one notes the object so that the noting mind rushes to the object and is connected and is sustained on the object. And this connection is continuous. It's continuously connecting, continuously sustaining on the object of attention without any gap. Such rushing to the object, focusing and rushing to the object, continuously connecting is what is meant by sati. Sati is happening, mindfulness is occurring, applying on the Kaya materiality. In this case, stiffness, tension and movement, the group of materialities, so that the noting mind is sustained, fixed, established on these objects. Such is Satipathana. Hence the name Satipathana, mindfulness. So as these materialities arise, obviously, you just note, you rush your noting mind towards that object, so as to be connected with it continuously, to be firmly established on the object of attention. Such is Kaya Nupassana Satipathana, mindfulness of the contemplation of materiality. This fire is also, fire is Kaya, the wind element is materiality. This is not in just the rising and falling of the abdomen. They occur in other movements as well. For instance, when you are sitting from standing position, you feel stiffness and movement. Such are also Kaya, materialities. And when you're touching also, and that is this touching sensation, stiffness, hardness and all that. All these are also Kaya, materialities. And so are other movements such as bending, stretching, turning, lifting, moving, placing, standing, even to the extent of opening and closing of your eyes. They are all via Kaya. They're quite obvious. Not just these things, but there are other materialities as well, such as hardness, softness, roughness, coarseness, cohesion, liquidity, fluidity, heat, cold, warmth. All these things are obvious Kaya materialities. And then the visible object, the smell, the odor, and tangible element, all these are also Kaya. And then the base elements such as eye, ear, nose, sensitive elements, sensitivities are also Kaya. Many things. But we are here concerned with the most obvious, prominent materiality, which is Vaya Kaya, the materiality of the wind element. As the saying goes, Yatha Bhagavata Vipassana Viniveso. When you are practicing inside meditation Vipassana, you start with obvious objects. So that's the aphorism or saying. So we take priority on the most obvious object because of this statement, as a result of this statement. So we begin with the most obvious materiality. As these materials arise at the very moment, you just apply your mindfulness as they are obvious, while, like the saying, strike while the iron is hot. As it arises presently, immediately, you note it so that your noting mind rushes or plunges into this object of attention as though it is stuck. It is fixed on the object of attention, sustaining the sati or blindness mindfulness, such as kaya vipassana Satipathana. You are said to be cultivating or practicing this kaya vipassana Satipathana. So at this moment, the Satipathana is the compound of two words. You can divide it into two, namely sati and patthana. Here, patthana means it is given as upatati. It is fixed, firmly established on the object of attention. It is firmly sustained. Hence, the expression patthana. That means as one notes, the noting mind is connected and is firmly established on the object of attention. Hence, this expression patthana, that is the rendering of patthana. And when we combine sati, mindfulness, and patthana, establishment, we call sati patthana, establishment of mindfulness. And as for this word, patthana, that's part of this Satipathana, patthana, and out of this patthana again, if we take out this pa, it has the connotation of excessiveness, severely, or sharply, extremely. That is the meaning which is given to this pa. So only when one notes extraordinarily, excessively, only then will there be this unique mindfulness. Otherwise it will be ordinary mindfulness, just casual mindfulness. It is not casual mindfulness, it is extraordinary, with excessive application. Otherwise it becomes ordinary knowing, ordinary mindfulness. Therefore, one has got to do it extraordinarily, excessively, so that it is properly sustained, so that the noting mind will not move away from the object of attention, will not be separated. There will be no gap, without any gap. There will be no separation from the object of attention, so that it is firmly fixed, sustained. Hence, in order to realize this good quality, high quality mindfulness, when the object arises, such as when rising takes place, there are these materialities, stiffness, tension, and movement. When falling takes place, there is relaxation, movement, and so on. The noting mind should note in such a way that it notes the object as though the noting mind penetrates into the object and proceeds continuously. Such as given by this expression, penetrating, proceeding, the noting mind proceeds by penetrating into the object of attention. So when rising takes place, mindfulness is applied as though the noting mind penetrates into the object of attention. And when falling takes place also, or any other object that arises immediately, one notes so that it seems as though the noting mind penetrates into the object and proceeds continuously. Like when you throw a piece of stone into the water, the stone sinks into the water where it is thrown. So whatever arises immediately, you just note, just like you throw the stone into the water, it sinks. So also you note so that the noting mind sinks into the object of attention and proceeds continuously. This is given by the expression proceeding, happening continuously. Then only there will be this sustained mindfulness. That is how it has been given in the text. So in order to penetrate or enter into the object of attention, sinks into the object of attention, one should use this ardent energy, the driving force, in order that the noting mind will be connected with the object, and also with the application of precision, taking an aim at the object, so that the noting mind will sink or penetrate into the object. In order that the noting mind penetrates or enters or sinks into the object of attention, you need to apply speed. Now, there are three kinds of speeds, namely slow speed, normal speed, and fast speed. Now, the fast speed is most important. You have to use the fastest speed as fast as possible. Not to be slack, or not to waste your time by thinking or intellectualization. You must be quick as soon as the object arises. Because the objects arise and pass away very quickly, they're very fast, and you have to be on time. You have to be able to catch up with it, with the speed. In order to do that, you must rush or plunge your naughty mind into the object of attention as soon as it arises. As at the flash of the moment, you must have the flash of your naughty mind with the fastest speed, which is most important, as is given by this expression, Paṇḍitā, plunging into the object, naughty mind, while you note the object as though the naughty mind plunges into the object and proceeds continuously with diligence, wakefulness, activity. Then only there will be this, you will be able to apply this mindfulness of the high quality. The sati will be high quality, of high quality. So naughty mind should be applied as fast as possible towards the object of attention. If, however, if you are slow, you will not be able to catch up with the object, you will miss it, then what will happen? The negative tendencies will take the place, will occupy your mind. They will take the priority. When they take the priority, what happens? All these negative tendencies will arise, such as knowing wrongly, not knowing the truth, knowing wrongly, leading to craving, attachment. One of these things are bound to happen. That's why it is suggested to be as fast as possible in order to plunge your naughty mind into the object of attention, which is given by this expression, Paṇḍitā, plunging into the object, and so that the naughty mind proceeds continuously. You should rush the naughty mind to be continuous, and be continuous. Then only the naughty mind will be properly established, firmly established, in an extraordinary, excessive manner. Otherwise, it will be just casual, ordinary mindfulness. So your mindfulness should be more than ordinary, casual one. In order that the naughty mind rush to the object of attention, penetrate it, plunge into the object, in order to sustain your mindfulness on the object of attention, you need to rush with the fastest speed as possible. Excuse me. And then in doing so, if you are too much concerned, too excited, or over concerned with this, or over energetic, then you might overshoot the object and will not be able to cover. Your naughty mind will not be able to cover the object in its entirety. It is necessary that the naughty mind envelopes or covers the object of attention completely in its entirety, so that the naughty mind will be sustained on the object continuously. Such is given by this expression, Paṇḍitā. The naughty mind should proceed by covering the object of attention, the specified object that you are noting. So that it's just like when you spread something, so say for instance a bed sheet on your bed, so that the bed sheet is spread over your bed, and it covers the bed. So also the naughty mind should be applied so as to cover your object of attention in its entirety. Such is the quality that you have to apply, which is given by this expression, Paṇḍitā Sayadaw, then only you will be able to apply the quality mindfulness, and that should proceed continuously. Then if you are able to apply such mental powers, then there will be this quality sati. The mind will be uniquely or extraordinarily sustained on the object of attention continuously by plunging into the object so as to cover the noting mind, cover the noted object in its entirety. Then it will be unique, extraordinary type of mindfulness. Because of the cessation or extinction, even temporarily, of this defilement group, the karma actions performed, there will be no actions performed. The action is said to have come to cessation, leading to the cessation of the resultant vipaka. There will be no existence, no new existence, the vipaka. So seeing Nibbana, coming to abhavada from bhavada, coming to non-process, that is seeing Nibbana, making Nibbana the object, you are said to accomplish the other truths, namely the truth of suffering, knowing and understanding the truth of suffering, abandoning the truth of the origin, the practicing, undertaking, or realizing the extinction, the path of extinction, the truth of extinction, and that the part of the practice, mega satya, the truth of the path. So with just realization of the Ariya Mega, the noble path, seeing Nibbana as an object, other truths are accomplished. The function of other truths are accomplished. That means the knowing and understanding of dukkha satya, the truth of suffering, abandoning the truth of the origin, and practicing the truth of the path are said to be accomplished. So with just one thing, we have accomplished all the four satya, for the truths. So this is how the four truths are accomplished by just realizing one truth in terms of worldly matter and supramundane. They are of course different, but one belongs to the worldly arena, and the other one is supramundane. So, this is how the four truths are accomplished. Every time one sees dukkha satya, the truth of suffering, by noting and knowing, and every time one sees Nibbana, all the truths are understood. So every time one is understanding one truth, one is said to be understanding other three truths. This kind of practice is none other than the practice of Satipathana Bhavana, mind development by way of the way of mindfulness. Whoever practices the Satipathana Bhavana is bound to understand these four truths. So what is most important is to undertake the practice of the path. So if one practices, then one practices by knowing and noting and knowing the dukkha satya, other truths also will be involved. In this connection, there's a reference to this, namely the Viddhā Sutta, the discourse on the laws. As for the Satipathana, it is the practice of the way of mindfulness by being mindful of the four kinds of objects, sustaining one's mindfulness, applying it. And there are four aspects, four kinds of objects: object of the body, then object of feeling, mind, and general objects or general activities. And as for the body object, mindfulness of the body, or mindfulness directed to the body, they are concerned with what is happening in your body, whatever happens in the body, such as the heat, cold, hardness, softness, stiffness, tension, movement, cohesion, flowing, fluidity, all these things are materialities which arise in your body. And by noting them continuously, contemplating them, is known as Kaya Anupassana Satipathana, the practice of the mindfulness of contemplating the mind, contemplating the body. And then when you are noting continuously every feeling or sensations which arise in your body, that is Vipassana Anupassana Satipathana, mindfulness by contemplating continuously the feeling. At times your mind is pure, at other times your mind is impure, with lust, craving and things like that. Then you note at the very moment of the arising of whether the pure or impure mind. And such is known as Citta Anupassana Satipathana, mindfulness by contemplating the mind. And there are other general activities such as seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. All these things are to be noted, and such a practice is known as contemplating the general activities, Dukkha Anupassana Satipathana. In this way, there are 4 different kinds of objects, namely Kaya, Vedana, Citta, Dhamma. And the mindfulness also will be different according to the object noted. So, whoever undertakes the practice of Satipathana, mindfulness of these 4 kinds of objects, is said to be undertaking the Mega Satya, cultivating the Mega Satya, the truth of the path. Whoever does not undertake the practice of mindfulness of Satipathana, or even if one does practice, one is not doing meticulously, one is doing marginally, not respectfully and carefully, then one will suffer loss in respect of the noble path of the constituents. That means one will be losing the practice of the noble path of the constituents. And on the other hand, if one is able to practice the noble path, the 4 Satipathana, for mindfulness, respectfully, carefully, cherishing the practice, appreciating the result of the practice, taking upon oneself so that one becomes fulfilled with this, then one will not be losing, one will be gaining the noble path of the constituents. This subject will be discussed tomorrow. Losing, one will be gaining the noble path of the constituents. This subject will be discussed tomorrow. Losing, one will be gaining